Hey, everybody, this is Jim Pence with See the Light. I wanted to thank you for your prayers as I continue to recover from my heart attack. Doing a lot better and looking forward to being back doing a lot of art stuff here in the very near future. I want to do a really quick tip here about watercolor paper. And sometimes it's very confusing if you try to buy good quality watercolor paper. And I really recommend that if you want to learn watercolors, don't go cheap on the paper. You can buy inexpensive pigments, inexpensive brushes, but if you want to learn watercolor, paper will make all the difference. But when you get to Michael's or wherever you buy Hobby Lobby or look online, you'll often see different numbers beside the paper. You'll see some that's called 90 pounds, some that's called 140 pound, and some that's called 300 pound. And I wanted to show you what those different numbers mean. The number basically refers to the weight or the thickness of the paper. And here is Arch's 90-pound paper. And you can see it's quite light and quite thin. And it's really nice to work on. The main problem that you'll have with it is if you get it really wet, it's going to buckle. And so what you want to do is you'll have to stretch this paper if you want to do any washes or anything with a lot of water. If you're using dry brush technique, not so much, but with a lot of water, this paper will buckle. This is 140-pound paper, so it's a little bit heavier, a little bit thicker, and this is typically what I work on most of the time. Now, this paper I tape down to like a piece of plywood when I'm working on it, but I don't typically stretch it because it's thick enough that it's not going to buckle badly if you get it, really, really wet. The third weight is 300 pound, and 300 pound is very heavy. You can see here it's almost like cardstock. If you can see it from the side here, it's really quite thick and quite heavy, and now this will tend to curl if you get it too wet and it's in a really small sheet like this. But again, most of the time, if I'm working with 300-pound paper, then I'm going to not even bother taping it down. Although, again, if I'm getting it really wet, I probably will. So those are the three numbers that you're going to see, and that's what the different weights mean. You'll also see something called cold press and hot press. Cold press basically means that it's got a rougher surface, a bit of a texture, a bit of a tooth. Hot press is going to be very, very smooth. Most of the time I recommend working with cold press. It just is easier to work with, particularly for a beginner watercolor student. And one final part of this tip is sometimes we balk at the price because if you go to Hobby Lobby or someplace like that, you'll see the sheets are most often sold in 22 inches by 30 inches, which is a really big sheet of paper. And it's, you're going to have some sticker shock when you see how much the paper costs. Incidentally, you can get it a lot cheaper online, particularly if you buy like about 5 sheets at a time. But again, 22 by 30 is a big sheet of paper. And what I normally do when I get it home is I tear it up into 16 smaller sheets. And that's what I've got here. This is a sheet of 90 pound. And these are about 5.5 by 7.5 inches. And they're great for small watercolors. Again, if you're just learning, if you're new at this, this is about as big as you're going to want to work with anyway, at least when you're just learning basic techniques and stuff. So that's my watercolor tip today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you find it helpful. Keep painting, and don't forget to have fun.